Welcome, Grimdark enjoyers. Welcome to another Hobby Hang stream. Yes, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, just like how Eric Brandenburg mentioned. Hope everyone's holidays were good. Hope you got some nice Grotmas gifts for yourselves. Taking a little bit of a break from the GSC kill team over here. Gonna work on this Autarch. Finish this this project up. I actually ended up adding a little bayonet of sorts onto the Reaper launcher here. Figured it'd make a decent representation of a melee weapon of sorts. So there's a bunch of minor things to kind of accomplish on this model, right? There's a gap that was filled on the forearm. Got to paint the bayonet. I want to tighten up the glowing effect on these on the Tempest launcher sockets here. And I got to do something about these wings. I want to make them all with this sort of glowing effect. Probably won't do that on all these Swooping Hawks, but I think for an Autarch it's worth. You know, maybe an Autarch and a Baharoth are worth that amount of effort. Eric Brandenburg says they were okay. I'm assuming that's in reference to your Grotmas acquisitions. My holidays were pretty chill. I worked on a bit of Gallowdark terrain, and I think I painted... I partially painted a couple Crimson Fist brothers. Francois, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Francois says, nice, an Eldar day, working on a Wraith Knight here. Oh, very nice. Hopefully the Wraith Knight gets a bit better treatment in the Codex, and by that I mean hopefully it gets all its war gear options accounted for. Okay, so this should have had enough time to dry. I'm thinking like a Wraithbone bayonet. And because it's Wraithbone, I want to try and blend from our maroon to maybe a... I'm not sure what color to use. But the maroon color to something else for sure. Eric Brandenburg says, well, my GW products were back ordered and I'm still waiting. Oh, dude. Let me pour one out for Eric Brandenburg here. I had a similar, but it ended up only being a close call. I was trying to get some Christmas gifts, a kill team set, and my local store was having some trouble getting it. Holidays are busier, I suppose, but it was still a little frustrating. You know, you put in pre-orders and expect things to show up. Definitely a first world problem. Okay, let's get some Celestra Gray to start, and I'll mix in some white probably. I think I have some white Scar. I'm gonna start covering up this this green stuff in the forearm. Hopefully it's not too ugly when it's all said and done. You know, I tried to smooth out the green stuff as best as I could, but it is a graft of two different kits. Yeah, it's not great. It's not perfect, but I think it'll be adequate. Francois says, I got my Herotech Circle and immediately chopped it up for kit mashing. Oh, is that right? You know, some people might be saddened by that. How could you chop up a shiny new kit just for kit bashing? But the enthusiasts know what's up. Eric says, but I fixed my neighbor's furnace on Saturday. I feel good about that. Hey, that's a good thing you're doing there, helping out your neighbors. You gotta be nice to your neighbors. It's only decent. You know? It's only decent. Okay, we're gonna get that blue contrast and try. We're gonna try and see if I can just use this to tone down those blue bits. Like, I have a Dark Reaper I did before, and I just felt like those OSLs turned out much nicer, and I guess it's because you still got a bit of purple in the groove. Whereas these are fully blown out with blue. So I might have to just push those back. Push back those blue values. Interesting, interesting. This is going to be a very chill, unorganized, and unplanned hobby stream. We're kind of going all over the place on this character, tying up loose ends. Francois says, had to make a Destroyer Lord. Oh, from the Herotech Circle. Makes the sense. Makes the sense. I'm not exactly sure what's in the Herotech Circle. Oh, you got your Cryptek, some Death Marks, and a Immortal, looks like it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool kill team there, I'd say. Okay, so for those weapons, we'll need Doomfire Magenta. Whoops. Doomfire Magenta. That's a name I haven't heard in some time. Oh, it's not Doomfire Magenta. It's Screamer Pink. Doomfire's the contrast. Francois says the Technomancer was the one I chopped up. Chopping up a Technomancer to make a Destroyer Lord, huh? Seems like an apt choice. I'm not exactly a Necrons expert. But because of that, because I'm not especially familiar with the Necrons range, whenever I see a Kit Bash or a conversion, it has a bit of extra allure, I find. Perhaps it's just novelty. Pollux G, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Happy New Year. Let's tone down the glow on this rear Tempest or Reaper Launcher warhead. I'm not exactly sure how the Reaper Launcher works. I mean, you have these replacement tips, so I guess that's where, I don't know, something runs out. With the leftover Screamer Pink, we'll just begin. Begin creating whatever blend this will be. Maybe just blending into a simple bone color would look nice. Right? Because you're basically going from a purplish, well, it's more red than purple, but you're working with some fairly complementary colors is what I'm alluding to. Right, then you blend in from a bone color, an almost orange bone color. I think that would look really good. Francois says, need a cool melee weapon for the Destroyer Lord. But the Technomancer has a cool offhand of frustration and a fat chin beard head. I was also able to steal his loincloth. The coolest Necron weapons are like what? Scythes, right? They really lean into the Grim Reaper undead shtick, right? Maybe just give him one of those cool polearms that the Lich Guard have. I have mixed feelings about scythes. I feel like they're a bit too cool, if you know what I'm saying. Pollux G says, somehow I was able to buy a Kill Team starter box, so I guess now I have to learn how to paint Death Guard now. Well, it's not the hardest, in my opinion. I feel like Death Guard's very forgiving. Because they're dirty. Surprise, surprise. I don't know if you guys knew that. And we'll just do a bit of blending between the Screamer Pink and Steel Legion Drab. I just need something to count as the melee weapon. I liked the more elaborate pose with like the reloading, because I had an Autarch arm that's holding a ready-to-go Reaper launcher, but it just felt more boring. Like, just felt a bit too boring. This one feels a bit more scenic. I think once the water base goes on, and you got some waves flowing in this right direction, I think it'll look really nice. Okay, so this is Flayed One Flesh. Not exactly a bone color, but I think it's close enough. It should prove adequate for the task at hand. Tall Giraffe, welcome to the stream. I just noticed you there in chat. I swear I'm not I'm not intentionally ignoring chat. It's just sometimes I get a bit too focused on my own hobby projects over here. Tall Giraffe says, hello nerds, I got the Army Paint Plasma Coil Glow and it looks amazing. Oh, is that right? Army Painter has their own paint for plasma glow, eh? And this whole time I've been painting my plasma glow manually like a chump. Would you believe it? Okay, so where's the white scar? We got Pallid Witch Flesh, which is kind of an off-white. Tall Giraffe says the new AP Army Painter effects are great. Oh, good to know. Good to know. I am all for using a variety of brands of hobby products. Okay, so here we're just going to do a little... Oh god, too strong. I was going to say a little bit of edge highlighting, but that start was a bit much. Oh, I realize now why I like this gradient. It's because it's the same sort of color space as my Slimish Demons color scheme. That is why it appeals to me. Warp Forge, welcome to the stream. I saw your new logo there, Warp Forge, looking pretty spiffy. Looks sharp. I like it. I did notice there was some new guard stuff on the Warhammer communities today. However, it's not the same value as a proper detachment like we had during the Grotmus arc, right? So I don't really think it's worth looking into. You're gonna see a detachment and then speculate and then see a few stratagems and then speculate. And there's too many other variables which just could offset the context, right? Like who knows what the base changes are in the codex. It's almost like not worth getting too intrigued. Francois says, at with the 40k, I got a Marathi to convert to a Morai Hag avatar. Any ideas for color scheme? I'm having a rough time planning it out. A Morai Hag avatar. My fantasy / Age of Sigmar lore is not sufficient to confidently answer this question. So you're making an avatar of Kane, but using the Marathi as a base, is my understanding? Do I have that right? Like Marathi's form or model will count as your avatar of Kane? If that's the case, personally, I would paint it to look like an avatar. Paint it like it's on fire. Right? I think that's what you want to communicate, if that's the idea. Let's continue with this weapon. We can probably mix in some white with our Screamer Pink, actually, to get our edge highlighting color for the weapon. It basically turns into pink horror. Warpforge says, I've also commissioned another artist to draw up one of my Night Lord OCs. And really excited to see that completed. Oh, is that right, Warpforge? That's a pretty fun requisition. I can definitely appreciate the excitement you're feeling. Alright, get those edges. We have to touch up the black components. It's like the awkwardly round geometry of the weapon casings, you know, compared to your normal Imperium weapons. You feel like the boxy Imperium weapons would find edge highlighting more important because of those harsh angles, but honestly, I think no matter what you're painting, if it's got edges, edge highlighting goes a long way. Francois says, I know I definitely want red robes. Morai Hag is the Howling Banshee Goddess. Marathi is my avatar proxy, but she isn't made of lava. Not a terrible idea, though. Marathi model is everything plastic Fulgrim should have been. I don't hate plastic Fulgrim. I don't know, I didn't do a video on the release day when everyone else did. I feel like I sort of ended up saying everything everyone else said. Yeah, I would paint the Count's as Avatar of Cain fiery, in that same way the Avatar is, just to keep that design language clear. That's my personal opinion. It becomes as clear as possible what your conversion or counts as is supposed to be, so that you can almost intuit the intention, right? I think that's, you know, at a glance they're like, oh, obviously Avatar. Pollux G says, Fulgrim made me rethink if I really want Korax to return as soon as possible. I mean, I'm kind of indifferent to Primarchs coming back. I think it's interesting. I think there's interesting potential, but I don't know. I feel like Demon Prince Fulgrim might be my favorite of the ones that have come out. I try to keep my Slanesh bias aside, but I don't like his hair. Just going off of memory, I don't like Demon Fulgrim's hair. I think it looks stupid. It's just a bit too static. I don't think the hair sculpting at GW is particularly strong. It's kind of a trend I see. There might be exceptions, of course, but just broadly speaking. But other than that, I quite like how Demon Fulgrim looks. I was afraid he might be overly designed, too loud, with all the chaos accoutrement. But I think he's looking pretty cool. Francois says Marathi model is greater than Fulgrim model. Yeah, maybe. I mean, they're very similar, that's for sure. Well, similar in concept, different in execution. I don't know how they scale, but Marathi in my mind is larger than Demon Prince Fulgrim. But it could just be a smaller body attached to a similarly sized serpent body. Whereas Fulgrim's kind of big all over, I would imagine. in the way Demon Primarchs tend to be. Yeah, we gotta fix up that grip underneath here. Definitely nicked it with the edge highlighting. Marathi is 100mm base. Not sure what Fulgrim will be, possibly 80. I imagine Fulgrim will be on the same size base as his brother Demon Primarchs, right? They're all in the same size, right? Unless I'm mistaken. Pollux G says the weapons are okay, I think. Most of them are swords he used before transforming. Yeah, I think it's very interesting if the Demon Primarchs echo. They have an echo that you can like tie back to their 30k counterpart. I think you definitely want that. I think ideally you want to track the... You want to be able to spot the difference, right? You want to look at both models from 30k and Horus Heresy and be like, ah, yes, I see what he once was, and look at the difference. I don't think it should feel like a completely different character. I do like that they made the wings smaller on the 40k iteration of Fulgrim. The other one was just too large for my liking. I think the larger wings have a neat aesthetic, but I think for transportation it's a problem. And also I don't like how obsessed GW seems to be with incorporating wings onto every Primarch. So I like that in the 40k iteration of Fulgrim, at least his wings don't look like the intention is to allow him to fly. Because I just feel like it, whenever I imagine how that would work, I just laugh to myself. It seems so silly to me. Francois says, no, I think 2 are on 80s and 1 is on 100mm base. Both Loyalists are on 60s. Yep, both Loyalists are. Oh, that's too bad if the Demon Primarchs are in different sized bases. That kind of ruins the lineup. You know, from an aesthetics point of view, it's a bit... Well, sucks a little joy out of it, in my opinion. Right, like if every Loyalist Primarch comes back and they're all on 60mm bases, you can put them side by side and they feel like they are equal to each other, right? I know it's just a base, but it is how the model is presented. And when you have a larger base, you feel that much greater than whatever you're comparing to. And it is for that reason It's a big shame if the Demon Primarchs aren't all on the same base. It could be worse, though. You could have had Fulgrim come out with a stupid oval base. Just like that Warpsmith. The one Chaos Space Marine character who's not on a 40mm base. He's so awkward. Like, you look at him and you ask, like, why are you like this? Okay, let's paint this bud in black. That should help break that up. Probably this one as well. Pyro says hello there. Hello to you too, Pyro. Pollux G asks, who's the big one, Morty? I don't know, someone's gonna have to do some sleuthing. Somebody. I'm not gonna say any names. Someone's gonna have to get to the bottom of this. Okay, we must continue defining the edges of this custom Reaper launcher. Pollux G says the two loyalists almost fill up their bases, so I guess Vulcan would need a larger one. I'd hope not. I'd hope if Vulcan came back, he'd be on a 60, personally. He can just be, like, a bit bigger, a bit thicker. That's okay. It's okay if he fills out the base a little bit. Look, the Lion takes up so much space because he has those two goobers, right? Those two, Watchers. The Watchers in the dark. That carry around his shit. So if Vulcan didn't have that, he should have the space. Look. It's all about the display cabinet payoff for your Primarchs, okay? Okay, I got some of this Biel-tan green on the palette. I could fill in a couple of these stones, I think. Because this is an Autarch, right? The weapon would theoretically be of a higher caliber. It is a custom weapon, an all-in-one. Pyro says, I must say, the resin rapier kit bloody sucks. Like, so far I don't have to boil it or anything to fix it. My problem is that some of the details got ruined in the casting process. Oh, that does suck. If that's an official acquisition, Pyro, you should be able to get a replacement part. You know, I poo-poo GW quite a bit. But when it comes to customer service, I really can't complain. They're actually pretty great when it comes to customer service in that way. I get this lighter magenta on the top facing side of this rocket tip. Francois says, ads again? So it wasn't also me. Are the ads egregious, guys? Are they egregious? Something occurred to me over the holidays. You know, up to this point, I've been doing ad-free streams. Because I do think ads are annoying on live streams. It was brought to my attention that... Let me go into the studio here. It was brought to my attention that it might be the case that if there's no ads on the stream, there's no incentive for the algorithm to kind of push the content in that sense. That's probably the best way I could put it. So it seems to me like it might be the case that it could be bad for the channel if there's no ads. I can see about lessening them if they're too frequent. I wish I got a little notification when ads were playing, but I guess it's different for everybody. It's not like a cable situation. Let's see here. Oh, I can here. Let's look. There's a lowest setting, a conservative setting. We'll see. Ads for Titanicus, eh? Well, it is on point, that's for sure. There, that should do it. Or at least it should help. It should help with regards to ad frequency. Francois says, interrupting live broadcast is lame as fuck. Can you trigger them manually? I can. Like, see you after the commercial break. Yeah, I can do that. I don't know if it's probably more user-friendly if I were to preempt the ads, that's for sure. But how do you know when the time is right? Francois says that'd be so much better if you have to run ads during a live broadcast. You could set a timer like every 30 minutes. You know what, Francois? I like the way you think. That is better. That is better. Let me go into the settings here. Oh yeah, look at this. You can schedule them at a set frequency. Select frequency. Let's try this setting. Maybe? Pyre says, I understand the need to push ads. It's so you recommends it. Yeah, like another thought that occurred to me is using the goals tool they added here to kind of I don't know, like if the stream gets one super chat, we'll turn off ads for the stream, something like that. I just wonder if choosing to have monetization off with no benefit to YouTube, like, does that discourage how the algorithm will, you know, if the algorithm sees, okay, this stream here, there's nothing to be gained from it for YouTube, is that going to impact the channel's health overall, or the reachability? That's a word. The reachability of the stream? That's kind of like what I'm thinking about with regards to this topic. Because I could imagine, like, if you put myself in YouTube's shoes, I think I would probably instruct my algorithm to work that way. I don't know, we'll try that maybe on a different stream. But for this stream, we'll try the ads at set intervals. We'll see if this other setting is better or worse. So we'll put a little bit of this brighter green over those gem spots. I don't know if it'll read like gems. I find the the more matte paints, like these two from AK, make it a little bit harder to get them to read like gems until you hit it with a gloss varnish or something at the end. Pyro says, but if I recall, Valorant got boosted just based on the topic. Not sure if that helps. And if you have ads like Fran says, boom, the streamer can get small water breaks, probably. Oh, small water break, and Francois says probably. Oh, nice, do it, to push the algorithm. We'll see. This is just kind of like a gut intuition. I mean, someone brought it to my attention, but not with any, like, data or facts. It just kind of, you know, connecting the dots, it just kind of makes sense to me. So we shall see. Alright. They just look like green beans, man. I don't want green beans. Let's try and mix some black in with the green, make it a bit darker. Just try and slice in a bit of dark over top. There's not a lot of surface area to do any blending, but maybe. Francois says, I'm using metallic color shift paints for my soul stones, while everything else is matte. Yeah, that's a smart choice. Because I'm a masochist, I decided to paint gems. I can't help it. I can't help it. I like shiny gems. You know what it is? It's the old, like... what's the word? The old heavy metal schemes, maybe even the current heavy metal paint jobs have the Space Marine eye lenses. I just remember the old paint jobs where the gems on the eye lenses looked so good. And ever since then I've been like, oh man, look at those gems. But painting islands gems, I feel like that's like way higher stakes. Right on your face, you're gonna do something like that. That's much harder. Like, look, I think the gem on the belt here looks pretty good, if I'm honest. Okay, look at this. I think it reads. Look, it's still. It could use a bit of a gloss varnish, but I think it works. So it's possible. I've done it on other Elder models here and there. I do find certain paints are more friendly for, I guess, wet blending. Pyro asks, question, does anyone here play Total War Warhammer? Francois says, nah, I have Darktide instead. Hell yeah, Darktide. I am eagerly anticipating jumping back into Darktide at some point. I think the longer of a break I take, the more there will be for me to enjoy. I remember though I was playing a guardsman, I think. Whatever the guardsman type of class is called. I was playing that class, a soldier, whatever, and I found a bolt gun. I didn't find it. I got it from the requisitions, and I was like maximum satisfaction. Darktide bolt gun feels good. It feels so mighty. It's like too powerful for my human hands. Alright, hopefully that helps. Maybe we'll do a thin slice towards the bottom of the gems to give that refracted look. Let's try that again. Oh god, fuck that one up. It's too much. Ah, maybe it's okay. Maybe we can live with that. I think this one turned out really nice. Yeah. You know, fairly decent gemstones. This one on the pouch actually never got a white hotspot. So we'll just go in there, give it a bit of a dab. Come on. Oh, that's a bit poor of a position. Or maybe we can soften that a little bit. Probably adequate. Francois says, oh, I know. And I'm painting every damned one unlike how most people paint Eldar. And my gem recipe is 10 coats. 11 coats. Better than chainswording cultists? Is there such a thing? Don't forget the 4 ones on that gun's dick. What are you talking about? Oh, on the no, I've made an executive decision, Francois. We're not painting the barrel tip, the replacement warhead. I don't know. I guess that's what it is. Yeah, I don't want to paint the spirit stones on those. They'll stay bare like the ones elsewhere. Francois says, better than chainswording cultists? Is there such a thing? Yeah, I guess with reference to Dark Tide and my enjoyment of the bolt gun, I think it's more satisfying. It just turns people into mist, right? Just instantly. Like, it really delivers on the power fantasy of a bolt gun, I think. And I think in that respect, the bolt gun in Dark Tide feels better than the bolt guns in Space Marine 2. Could be a difficulty issue. I've played, I think, on the highest difficulties, maybe before the patch of Space Marine 2, but I haven't played the highest difficulties in Dark Tide. So maybe that's coloring the perception a little bit. Oh, you mean this piece here, Francois? That's the piece you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Some sort of ground penetrating radar. I don't I have no idea what that's supposed to be. I know the Tempest launcher has two of them. It's forked like a bipod, but I don't think it's a bipod. Okay, let's get some blues. Get some blues going. Between these three, I think those will be probably the right range of colors for the glow effects. Probably. I don't water it down a little bit though. Just trying to fill in the space. You kind of want an oval application of color. That's going to be the blend direction. Alright, the light's going to be emitted and then bounce down that channel. Or so I imagine. Francois says, yeah, gyro stabilizer is my guess. Yeah, something. Something for quality assurance, I guess. Something to represent the inability to miss. Oh, Jesus. I was hoping to do this different, and I think I ended up doing it the same. This makes a bit more white. Maybe if I increase the hotspots intensity, it'll all come together. You know, at table distance, it's adequate. Maybe I should just take some solace in that and not get too bogged down. I do want to not lose track of those kill teams entirely. Though I have because of present events, a bit my hobby time will be divided between my kill team pursuits and these Eldar models. I'm organizing an escalation league for my local gaming store, and while I'm not exactly participating, like I'll probably only play when there's odd numbers or something like that. But I do want to use the event as a driver to get some of these Eldar models done. I find events are useful for that sort of, to generate motivation. Francois says, you mentioned earlier this stream about 2 models, something Cobra related. You were not sure how to approach. Cobra related. I do not recall. It might have been the color for the bayonet here, which I've settled on as like a bone color. Francois says it was while we were talking about Marathi and Fulgrim snake bodies. I don't know. For the life of me, Francois, I cannot recall what you are referring to. And the only conclusion I can come to is that you are a liar. It is the only logical conclusion. Francois says I might just be really stoned. It's all good. Look, I'm not saying there might be a little bit of truth to what you're saying. It's possible. I could have said something and just forgotten about it completely. What remains? I guess we can move on to the wings. Does it make more sense to do the hair? No, we'll do the hair after because it's above the wings. Yep. Well, that makes the sense. James Earl Cash, welcome to the stream. James says, nice head for that Autarch. Which kit does it come from? I use Drukhari Arc Fleetmaster head for mine. This is it's largely an unchanged, well, I shouldn't say that. The base model is from Autarch. It's their Praetori squad leader, maybe? It's definitely from the Praetori squad. I just can't remember if it's the leader or not. But I did do some arm swaps with some of the GW weapons here. The Dark Reaper arms, and I think the Dark Reaper Tacit, has also been attached to this gal's hip. But yeah, I really like this head. Really cool wing details on the mask. I think it's neat. If I can get it to focus, there it is. Yeah, so if I can just remember what I did for this wing. Yeah, it's like doing an OSL effect without an airbrush. The joy! I do have an airbrush, but my airbrush is not precise enough for infantry OSL like this. If on a larger wing, my Badger could probably be useful for that, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're getting some yellow ink, or not yellow ink, some white ink and Doomfire Magenta, which is already on the work desk here. Oh, I'm all out of water. Shoot. We might be in for a crisis, guys. James Earl Cash says, hey, hey. Francois says, a kill team gang. My initial thought was Dread Knox, Zartan's gang from G.I. Joe. Okay. We're gonna apply a heap of white. And we're gonna water it down a bit. Just want to try and clean up this edge reasonably clean that up. Let's just apply it all over. So I think the workflow I'll try, we're doing it live, but we're going to line the wing edge, the emitter, let's say, with white. I get some white ink and fan it in. And then apply some Doomfire Magenta, maybe watered down. No, you know what? We'll apply it pure, water it down away from the emitter, and then maybe go back in with white and kind of redo what we're doing now, but perhaps a bit tighter. I think that'll be the workflow. That might be way too much ink. I'm going to add a bit of flow improver to this too. I think that makes sense. Feels right. Feels right. You want your... I think I want more flow, right? So why not add some? Okay, I think the idea is to kind of just tease out these shapes a little bit. Too much. Okay, look. We're gonna have to work with this. It's a consequence of the experiment. Might take a bit of massaging to get what we want. Yeah, it doesn't look like the camera's doing a great job picking up the differences in value. I swear I'm doing something. Uh-oh. Might have applied a bit too much here. See, I'm hoping that by putting a bit more time now, getting this white blend to look good, it'll go that much farther when I just apply the whole thing with contrast. But we'll see. We'll see. Contrast tends to be pretty aggressive, so I'm thinking I should water it down or mix it with some contrast medium. Alright, and there are tiny little holes in the wings here, which I already picked out on the other wing there, so I want to carry that across, picking out those 3 dots on either side, but these look way worse, which I'm not happy about. Not going according to plan, exactly. Right on this side, you got the same thing. Well, there's 4 on this side. Or did I miss it? Maybe. Maybe this whole time there should have been 4. Okay, we're gonna have to add in that fourth spot. Yeah, it looks like I missed it. Interesting, now that most of the paint is, or most of the ink has left the brush, we're actually getting the application I'd prefer. Sean says you're too good for contrast, buddy. I've used contrast on this model here, Sean. I used it on the white armor, and I've used it on the, well, for this purple effect. So we're going to let this ink, this mix of ink and paint really, we're going to let that dry out and then try applying some contrast, and we'll see if it ruins everything. I do like to live dangerously. I do get some cleanup to do on the armor, some blemishes from when I did the undersuit. We'll clean that up. Sean says, do they take away your pro painter certification if you use contrast? Asking for a friend. It might be frowned upon, if I'm being honest with you. No, contrast is a useful tool, as is the airbrush. But from a putting paint down on a model point of view, it's just a little less satisfying. It's a little less satisfying than doing it yourself. This is why I find Kill Team is a bit more conducive to my painting style, because it's just, I quite enjoy just getting into a model, right? Just jamming with a paintbrush, putting down some paints, making it look the way I like, just having a chill hobby session, not trying to rush and finish the first rush to finish one unit just because I have 5 more units just like it to do for my army, right? I think Kill Team is just better suited in that sense for the way I like to hobby. We do have to carry the metal color to this edge of the tasset. That's a small deal. And we have some, whatever that chain or that hook, that Autarch carabiner that you often see on their magazines and pouches. Okay, we'll apply the metal color, and then after that's down and while it dries, our wings should be ready for the Doomfire mix. So we'll get a bottle cap for the Doomfire, probably this. Okay, so before mixing any gold, I'm going to get that silver color, and there's not much silver on the model. But I did think that these grilled, sort of embellished, the bezel, I guess you could say, of this hip plate, I thought that would look cool if it was in metal. So we'll carry it through to the front side. Alright, that should be adequate. Well, famous last words. Turn the model upside down and you see all the areas that are lacking. But the pose makes it a little harder to get in there. I might have to leave it like that. Then we'll mix in a little bit of Retributor. which is really nearing the end of its lifespan here. I might have another one though in the reserve pile. I just want to hit these elements here. Oh God, what a disaster. I've ruined it. I can't believe I've done this. The only solace is that the AK green does cover up fairly well because it's so matte. Okay, let's begin mixing our contrast mix. So I'm sort of torn between diluting it and not diluting it, but I think it might be a huge mistake not to. We'll give this a go. And we'll see. We'll see if it's a terrible mistake. Yep, already regretting it. Let's see if we can feather it out a little bit. I'm going to try this effect again on Baharoth whenever I get around to him. But I'll probably go with a blue. So looking at the inner wing now, with the contrast mix so diluted, I think it's actually going to look really good if I do this, a few more coats of that, once that dries. So we'll do the same on this side. tease that out. Okay, let's begin. Let's begin blending this back a little bit. Just gonna mix this with white. See, right here in the middle, the blend's a little whack. Charles, welcome to the stream. And Charles asks a very, very atypical question. Can I get AIDS from kissing my uncle if he uses tongue? Probably. Probably, Charles. Happy New Year to you too, Charles. Okay, let's get some lamb and medium. I want to layer in some Celestra Gray white mix over the wing blades, going inwards. Probably got a bit more lamb and medium though. Just to kind of break up that sweeping brush stroke I used to kind of broadly apply the contrast. And hopefully that enhances the blend. Might be worth catching the underside of these wings. What time are we at? Oh, we're coming up on, well, 15 minutes from the 2-hour mark. We'll probably wrap up around the 2-hour mark. Making decent time, I think. Okay, so with the remnants of this magenta mix, let's hit these glowing points. That brush was a bit too loaded. Okay, let's see if we can get some more, our second pass of ink done before this stream gets wrapped up. It's a repeat of step 1, but maybe with a finer brush. We'll try it. we'll try it and see. And we'll just drag this along the edge. So that's very thin, thinner than I expected. Let's try and fatten that up a little bit. Though, you know, I don't hate how thin it is towards the bottom. I think that's working. We'll see if we can drag some of this ink upwards. Just blend out those, just try to create a kind of a wet blend. I know it's a very small area, but you can soften how stark those points end. I think it'll look a lot better. Well, I kind of like this side a lot more than that side. Well, look. We're figuring out a technique as we go, so it's to be expected. And let's see if we can tease those out a little bit again. I'm gonna blow this out a bit more. At least towards the upper edge. Which I kind of hate how that looks. Let's see what we can do. I'm not sure if this is going to make things worse or better, but I'm going to try continuing to work with this. Francois says, yes, Sean, contrast can only be used by pros as a glaze. Anything else is talentless behavior. You can bet they're raised by a single mother. Look, I didn't want to have to state it so plainly, but I can't help but agree. How thin can we go with this? Still feels too potent. Well, we're probably gonna wrap up just after this. I don't hate how this experiment went. I think it's turned out well enough to just let it ride. It was sort of a test model of sorts, well, with regards to this wing effect anyways, for the Swooping Hawk Prime, which will count as my Baharoth. So he'll have a similar wing effect. So what remains on this model? Probably a little bit of touching up on the hair, but I think that's it, barring some green edge highlights on the Biel-tan sections. I think that's about it. Tramari says, "Hey fellas, I got old." Well, Tramari, as time passes on, we all get older. Happy birthday, if that is what you are insinuating. Francois says he doesn't always agree with my hot takes, but you can bet that when he does, it's a banger. Dos Equis. Francois says, "What's that mean, Tramari? You're done with wet dreams now? Got your first boob? Oh, jeez. What is it that grants you this new perspective of yourself?" If I had to guess, Francois, methinks a birthday has passed. But maybe we'll... I was gonna say I'll do some varnishing before wrapping up, but you know what? It's about time I turned in. There's one for the thumbnail, or I guess a little showcase of sorts. Look, we worked on different parts, several different components, but I think it came together fairly nice. Where are we? Anyways, guys, if you hung out until the end, you are the real hobby heroes. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and shared in the hobby camaraderie. And that brings the stream to a close. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you